Hey, what's going on, guys? Punjabi Marciano right here, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about this Errol Spence versus Tszyu fight. It's going down next weekend. Um, so this fight's been talked about happening for years. They've been talking about Errol Spence coming back and fighting Fundora, maybe Tszyu. It was Tszyu first, and then he took a couple L's, and then it was Fundora because he was on top. He ended up going with Tszyu at the end of the day, probably because he's coming off a long layoff and he wants to see where he's at. Tszyu, he's coming off some wins, but no one in the top 10 at 154. So it's a good comeback fight, kind of crossroads fight for both of them. Errol Spence, he hasn't fought in 3 years since the Terrence Crawford fight, and he took a lot of damage in that fight. And before that he was in the car accident and all that. Tszyu, he's coming off of knockout losses to Sebastian Fundora and Murtazayev, so he's been through it a little bit too. I don't know if he's been through it as much as Errol Spence. He took a bad beating against Crawford, and he's coming off the layoff. If I was a betting man, I'd probably put money on Tszyu in this one. Just because Errol Spence is a special fighter. He was a beast back in the day, but he's moving up in weight, 2 weight classes. His last fight was at 147. This fight's at 160. He's coming off a 3-year layoff, moving up 2 weight classes. His first fight at 160 middleweight, and Tszyu, I know he's coming off of some bad losses, also, but he's been active. He fought 3 times at 25. He took an L to Fundora, which was pretty bad, but he fought 3 times, so he's very active. He's a lot younger than Errol Spence. He's in his early 30s. Spence is in his mid 30s. So and also this fight was originally at a 158 catch weight, but it came out today that Errol Spence requested the fight to be at 160, 2 pounds above the agreed weight, so like at straight up 160 pounds middleweight. So that could be a bad sign too for Spence. It could mean that maybe training camp's not going well. Like I said, this is his first fight in 3 years. Maybe he's having problems cutting weight. But it's a red flag, definitely, and it makes me want to put a little bit of money on Tszyu if this fight happens, because Tszyu, with the activity and with this being Spence's first fight at this weight, a lot higher than what he usually fights at, it could be disastrous. Kind of like when when Keith Thurman fought Fundora. I know Keith Thurman's a lot more inactive than Spence, not by a lot, but at least Spence's his last couple fights have all been against top opposition. Keith Thurman hasn't, but we saw in the Keith Thurman fight he was inactive for a long time, and he tried to come back and fight the top dog at 154, arguably, Fundora, and we saw what happened there. He didn't look too good in that one. I know there was a big size difference, but his timing looked off. He didn't look like he wanted to really fight. I mean, he wanted to box, but he didn't look like he wanted to bite down at. Maybe he was never like that, but he got hurt a lot. I don't know. He didn't look the best. That wasn't vintage Thurman, and it was because of the age and the layoff and the inactivity. I think something similar could happen to Spence, and I'm worried about that because I was a big Spence fan back in the day. So the writing's on the wall for this one. I'm rooting for Spence. Spence is a special fighter, so if anybody can come back from these kind of things, it's Spence. We saw he got into that car accident, but he came back and he pretty much won every round in the Danny Garcia fight. Looked really good against Ugas too, stopped him. So he's a special fighter. He's got the skills in his prime. That his inside game was nasty. Southpaw. He was a really fun fighter to watch, and I hope this isn't the end, and I hope we can see more of what he can do at 154. Imagine if Spence goes in there and does his thing against Tszyu, and then we could see maybe Boots versus Spence, depending on how Spence looks. That'd be crazy if he could come back like that, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to see next week. Also fighting next weekend is Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. It's interesting how all 3 of these guys from that past era, they're all fighting on next weekend. All these jaded guys from, who were at their best in the 2010s early 2020s. It's interesting how these guys are coming back, or at least fighting next weekend. It's pretty interesting. But I'll talk about those fights in separate videos. But yeah, I just wanted to get my thoughts out there about this fight. I'm worried for Spence. Tszyu is coming off a lot of activity, so let's see what happens next weekend. Punjabi Marciano, and I'm out.